Hey guys, my name is Ryan.
And my name is Miska.
And welcome to Overwatch Central. So the Uprising is here, and with it came a challenging PvE game mode. Much like Junkenstad's Revenge, there are some incredibly rare sprays that collectors just cannot pass up on with the achievements in this event. In this video we're going to be covering how to get all of the Uprising achievements, but also focusing on the tips and tricks with dealing with the Uprising's legendary mode, because it's sure not easy.
So let's go through the easy, more straightforward achievements first. There are 6 achievements altogether, and 4 of them are fairly easy to get actually. Of course we have the beat the event on blank difficulty ones, which are hard, expert and legendary, and there's no achievement for normal, which is fair enough really. The other 3 are handled with care, which is delivering the payload with over 80% health on at least the hard difficulty. Strike team, which is complete the event with each of the 4 main heroes. This is on any difficulty. And finally we have replacements, which is completing the event with 8 different heroes in all heroes mode. This probably includes the 4 from the original Strike Team 2, so completing it on hard difficulty is fairly straightforward, same as the payload achievement. The hero achievements just take a bit of time to get, but we really want to focus on completing the event on expert and of course legendary first, as those are the really tricky ones.
The next bit is incredibly important. You cannot get the legendary achievement by playing the game mode in all heroes, and I think this is the same for expert and hard. It has to be the original Strike Team. You can't cheese it with a Bastion strat, so don't bother if you're going for those achievements anyway. Also, if you complete the game mode on legendary in the main story mode, you also get the expert achievement as well, and hard all the way down the line, if that makes sense. So if you go for the higher difficulty, you get all of the other achievements as well if you manage to succeed in it. Speaking of which, so now we want to focus on how to actually achieve this with the original Strike Force. So first we'll go through each of the stages, talking about the bot types in depth, and then we'll go over the heroes and what they should be doing. For example, the Mercy shouldn't be reviving people, only rezzing them, but we'll get onto more hero specific roles in a second. So as we start out on the map, the first hack station is fairly straightforward to get. Best advice is to not overextend to avoid an embarrassing defeat. Hack station number 2 is also fairly straightforward, but it does have the addition of eradicators, those hard hitting bots with the shields. On this point you can easily get overwhelmed from all flanks, especially again by overextending. A great tip is to turn up speech audio in game to hear where the bots are actually coming from, so you know which direction to face. Using the sound cues for each of the harder bots is the best way to be prepared for any incoming detonators, which are those big orbs, or an ult in Bastion. But anyway, going back to the eradicators, the shield can make him a big problem, so the tracer needs to blink behind him and shoot the orange glowy area on his back. This shuts down the eradicator shields and makes him easier to shoot down. Going over the third point, again you can be easily overwhelmed, but this is nothing that you haven't handled already. For the third point, you can actually exploit where the enemies spawn from by basically putting a turret in the doorway. Our best suggestion is to maybe put a Torbjorn turret on the top right so that everything comes through on ground level. Otherwise you better stick in the Torbjorn turret right at the back.
Now we get onto the hard part, protecting the payload for 4 minutes. This is where you start to run into more problematic bots. The first being the slicer dogs, who only focus on destroying the payload and nothing else. However, you can body block the beams with the shield. Honestly though, this should be good for clear up for Reinhardt, who can swing and fire strike the little ones into dust fairly quickly. From there we also get the Detonators, which are the big sort of bomb characters, which deal no damage to you, but blow up by the point once it gets close. Again, it falls to Reinhardt to charge these Detonators as far away as possible, which deals a bit of damage but mainly gives more time to destroy the bombs. I would definitely recommend not earth shattering them unless they are super close. You want to save the earth shatter for another foe. Smash down the Detonators, and then you can also shoot the sort of molten corey underskin of them to deal headshot damage actually. And the main mistake is to not put too much emphasis on the detonator so long as it's far away. It isn't too much of a problem really, and it doesn't insta-kill the payload. Too many times we've focused on the big ball that is the bomb and then being taken out by another eradicator, or even worse, a Bastion. Bastions are a major problem actually at higher skill levels, or at least a higher difficulty, because as soon as he's down in sentry mode you either want to be charging him or earth shattering to shut him down, which is, you know, quite heavy attacks. Charging him, as per usual, takes him out of sentry mode, which is good for temporarily disabling him, but you really want to be careful with taking him down. This is the main target you want to be pulse bombing with Tracer. So these are the sentry bastions, but we also come to see the tank bastions very soon.
A couple of things I want to go over before we finish with this phase. First of all, you can actually wait until the detonator gets really close to the payload, and then when it starts the exploded animation, then charge it away. It doesn't actually deal any damage to you, and it blows up away from the payload. Another strategy you could go for, which I don't know if it works or not, but just trying to get your Reinhardt shield in between the explosion and the payload. It might work. I think I've seen a couple of people hint at it, but I can't say for certain whether it's tried because I'm not brave enough to let that happen. And lastly, when it comes to the Bastions, you want to get them out of turret mode, not only because they deal less damage in sentry, but because of the ironclad passive and how much damage that mitigates. So charging them out of turret into sentry is a good way to deal a lot of damage to him and burn him down. But with that out of the way, you move on to the next section. So once you've protected the payload for 4 minutes, which isn't as easy as it sounds, you'll pretty much be immediately faced with a tank Bastion coming down the street once you start moving the payload. This is also paired up with an eradicator, so you don't want to be taking these head on. Let the tank come to you and try to land an Earthshatter to take both the Bastion and eradicator down if you can. Otherwise, do let the tank chase you down the street and take it out on its own. Once you get somewhat down the street, a detonator will spawn behind you. Again, just charge it away and let the Tracer, Mercy or Torb shoot it to get some ultimate charge for the next tank. Speaking of which, the next tank eradicator combo comes from the subway, and a good technique for this that we've tried is actually flanking through the pub and bottlenecking in the alleyway behind them. But just bear in mind that slicers and other bots will be starting to shoot at the payload whilst you're doing this, so don't let it die. Once you get closer to the point, you'll be met by another tank which will come from behind, with an eradicator coming from the alleyway opposite you. Our best advice is to charge the eradicator, beat it up in the alley, and then go and face the tank. Once you've done this, it's pretty easy to push the final checkpoint, but you'd basically want to be focused firing either the eradicator or the Bastion. Try not to fight them both at the same time, as they will burn down whatever shields you have, and everybody will die. Now we go over the final phase, and this is where all hell can break loose. Now, full disclosure, at the point of this being recorded, we haven't actually finished Legendary ourselves and got that achievement. We've made it to the end with the double Orisas, but with the amount of time that you have left, it can get a little bit stressful, and we've just not managed to do it. We do, however, have some footage of our friend Buckle, who did the Legendary run with Animetic. She's a Mercy main that did a full playthrough video of Legendary, which you can see in the description below, but we're going to use Buckle's perspective here. Again, you can find his streaming details in the description below. We're also using some clips of XQC. No, not that one. But of his run where he's actually trying to get the high score and beat Cloud9. So his footage at the end is a pure, clean playthrough with only one death throughout it, and that was right at the end. Hence why he was a little bit cross.
25 deaths.
We fucking did it! Oh, dude, this is fucked up. This is fucked.
I
This
died
is...
at the fucking end. I got one shot by the Bastion.
First and foremost, you want to be baiting the first Orisa out as far as you can. Burn it down quickly, but also remember that there is a Bastion sentry to the right hand side, kind of hidden away. Once you kill her and the Eradicators, at some point a tank Bastion will come up behind you. So make sure that you're prepared to go outside and fight him there, and that you're not in too deep and you can't get out and stuck in a really difficult spot. Once you've done that, you're on to the second Orisa. Now, Orisa could still put down her bongo, so of course you want to take that out as quickly as possible, especially when there's a sentry Bastion sat in the far back. From there, another tank will come from the front, let it come to you and take it out near the entrance. Again, just sort of baiting it away from a lot of the fire coming in. And once you've killed that and the second Orisa, you want to flank around and deal with a second sentry Bastion, which is at the far back. Once you've done that, you want to keep going and take out the final sentry, which is right by the defending team spawn. But bear in mind, another tank will be on its way very shortly, so you don't want to be stuck in that corner. Once you've done that, you probably won't have much time left, so you want to jump on the Orisas and try and kill them. As you're seeing with the gameplay on screen, the guys left it fairly close, and really with well managed ultimates and honestly a little bit of luck as well, you should be able to complete this game mode. It's incredibly hard, but it's not impossible.
Kill it! Kill it! Yeah! Oh my god, we had 1 second left!
We thought it was ready.
Now to go over the roles of each of the strike team. Reinhardt's is fairly obvious. Be the shield. But you have to make sure to swing at the slicers to kill them off the payload. Charge the detonators away and the bastions out of sentry. Fire strike the Orisas and eradicators, and earth shatter the detonators that are too close, the bastion eradicator combo, or the bastions in tank mode. Basically, Focus's Reinhardt is to generally protect the team, and when the bigger enemies come in, you have to temporarily disable them or help your team take them down essentially. Mercy is an obvious one. Keep everyone alive. We would recommend not to damage boost others actually. Instead, don't be afraid to take out the pistol in certain cases, as it's great for ultimate charge. It's also got a huge range, which is good at taking out the sentry bastions at the end. You never want to be the person reviving as Mercy as well, very important to note. If you're reviving and then you also get downed as well, you don't have a backup res. And that is an incredibly key ability here. Speaking of the res, only the player you should be solo resing is the Reinhardt really. Other than that, you want to be holding it until you can bring back 2 or 3 players. So don't do the normal hold R to res with the Mercy. Tracer's job is to pulse bomb the key targets as well as getting the bastions and eradicators to face away from the team. Remember to shoot the eradicators in the orange spot on their back to shut down the shields, and pulse bomb the bastions and the Orisas as a priority. Be sure not to stray too far away from the team, as you won't get healed, and if you get taken down, you're going to put your team in danger when they try to revive you. And finally, Torbjorn. He's an interesting one here. First and foremost, he's on reviving duty. A big problem we see with Torbs is trying to set up turrets in situations where it just doesn't seem possible with the damage coming in at you, and the turret just ends up dying. A turret on the payload is the best spot during that section though, and anywhere before that is just okay. It gets difficult in the Orisa stage, so you want to be setting up your turret in blind spots so they don't get burnt down from a distance. Other than that, you want to be putting out as much damage and armor as possible, as well as using molten core at crucial burn down points. The more you look at this event like a World of Warcraft raid, the more success you'll have with it basically. It's not as random as people seem to think it is. There are phases, and knowing what enemy spawns when is crucial to getting through Legendary in one piece.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. But let us know your tips for dealing with the legendary game mode in the comments below. Like and share this video so people can practice and get those achievements for themselves. And until next time, take care. We'll see you then.